All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the December In Mold Meetup. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Diana Brodeen. I'm the Executive Director of the In Mold Decorating Association. I'm going to make Sandy lean over for real quick and say hello.
Hi guys.
Sandy is the new member coordinator here at IMDA, so you guys will be hearing from her a lot over the next year or 12 because I'm never letting her leave me ever. So today we have our special guest is Mike Devereaux from Whipfly. You guys might have met him at our Plastic Product Decorating Summit in Charlotte. Mike is a longtime friend of mine. We've known each other for a very long time. He is an actual expert in manufacturing. He's been in tons of facilities over the years. So, unlike some consultants who maybe say they understand the industry, Mike really truly does understand the industry. So today I'm going to have him introduce himself. We're going to talk a little bit about planning for 2026. And then also at the end, I'll kind of give you guys some heads up on some things coming up from our IMDA. So, Mike, hello. Thank you for being here. Would you mind introducing yourselves for everybody?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody, I'm Mike Devereaux. I'm a partner with Whipfly. I lead the manufacturing practice. Whipfly is a CPA and advisory firm. Most people are pretty surprised to find out that over a third of our revenue has nothing to do with tax and accounting. So some of you may know Laurie Harbour and her team. They became part of Whipfly. So we do benchmarking. We help with market intelligence. We do strategic assessments and operational augmentation and so forth, and operational improvement activities and sales process. A lot of advisory type services that a lot of traditional CPA firms don't. I'm a tax geek through and through. That's what I get up and look at every morning, just because I geek out over that. I haven't signed a tax return in over 10 years, other than my own, but tax policy as it relates to manufacturing is kind of my bailiwick. I spent a lot of time understanding what's happening in Washington, D.C., everything from the one big beautiful bill to tariff and trade policy. I never thought I'd have to be a tariff expert, but here we are. We
These days,
those
I think everybody gets to be a tariff expert, whether they want to or
I,
not.
I didn't want to be, but here we are. That's but And then technology. A lot of the things that Whiffly does is helping people either better use technology, implement new technologies. Oftentimes we find through our strategic assessments that we can be helpful in introducing them to new partners and so forth. That seems to be, it's frankly one of the reasons that our firm merged into Whiffly 4.5 years ago, is some of the technology services offering and other ways that we can be helpful to our clients. So appreciate being here today.
Well, thank you. So I've got a couple, I think we've come up with three questions just to kind of give everybody some ideas as they're heading into 2026. So what's the number one thing, Mike, that everybody in plastics molding, labeling, and decorating should be kind of watching as we head into the new year?
Well, at this time of year, it's December. If you haven't already finished strategic planning for the upcoming year, that's going to be a focus of yours over the next 20 days before you get into the new year. I think that strategic planning is going to have a number of different wrinkles to it. We've all had changes in our supply chain, changes as it relates to trade and tariff policy, and maybe changes as a result of that. Um, Sales opportunities as a result of the tariffs, perhaps. So how does that change our strategic plan? The one big beautiful bill had a lot of incentives for manufacturing. If I think about winners and losers from that tax act that was passed on the 4th of July, manufacturing was certainly one of the winners. You've got the ability to expense R&D again. So R&D for years was this great thing. We could go in and capture R&D tax credits. I get the expense and I get the tax credit on top of that. And credits are significant. 20, $30 million molders are claiming 200, $300,000 tax credits per year. And so um, those tax incentives kind of were dwindled by or dwarfed by the fact that you had to capitalize them for and amortize the expenses over 5 years. And that was the case for 22, 23, and 24. And so over the last few years, R&D almost became a little bit of a bad word, at least from a tax policy perspective, because you had to capitalize these expenditures, and that's just not the case anymore. You get to deduct them. In fact, there were some transition rules that allow you to catch up those R&D expenses. Now, the general rule is I get to deduct all that unamortized amounts from 22 through 24 and get it all in tax year 2025, or I can spread it over 25 and 26. But if I'm a small business that's under 31 million, I can go back and I can amend my returns and get refunds from taxes that, frankly, Mulder's never should have had to pay to begin with. I mean, that was when they passed that bill, it was the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 that really kind of required it. There's a reason that they said it's not effective for 22. They passed the law in 17, effective for tax year 22. They were going to change it. But the problem was the Republicans lost the election the following year and they weren't in charge anymore.
Right.
As a result, that didn't get fixed
Well, and
until
really with a lot of our in-mold people, our label printers and our molders, especially on the IML side, IMD side, research is kind of a critical component of what they're doing. So that might be something that people would want to reach out to you and ask some more questions about if they're already not making plans for that, already working with their own tax accountants.
Yeah. The other significant change was bonus depreciation. We have 100% bonus depreciation again. We have a larger Section 179. That's the ability to write off assets as they're placed in service as well. Then we have this whole factory write-off. If you build a new factory or the rules aren't out yet. So, one of the things I know we're going to talk about is what do we expect from a regulatory perspective. I sure hope we get rules on that qualified production property. So manufacturing companies that are considering either building a new building, adding on to their existing facility, there's the potential to write off in the year that you place it in service, 100% of the space related to the manufacturing or production activities. They haven't defined manufacturing and production activities yet. They've excluded some things like administrative offices and engineering offices, but what about quality? I'd say that's integral, especially
Yeah.
with this group. You get a lot of precise part dimensions. Quality is an integral part of the manufacturing process. You know, warehouse is warehouse an integral part? I think I could see the argument either way, depending upon which way I
Right.
wanted to sway it. But I think this administration is going to lean towards benefiting the taxpayer, especially benefiting the manufacturing taxpayer. So we might see some looser rules around that. That's one area that I'm really hopeful that we get some guidance around because I don't want to say it's hindering the movement forward of new plants or anything like that, but it sure would be able to plan,
Yeah,
be,
it's
be able
maybe
to
slowing
plan better,
things.
have
So.
some understanding. Government shutdown had a little bit to do with that, though.
Yeah, so let's swing a little bit into that second part of that question then is like legislatively and regulatorily, what are we keeping an eye on for the plastics industry and the print industry going into next
So
year?
yeah, so I certainly the tariff case, the IEEPA case, what happens there. But like I said earlier, even if there is reprieve and they determine that IEEPA tariffs are unlawful, one, are they retroactive? Because there's talk of it just being unlawful prospectively, a prospective ruling. Um, but then also, where are they going to apply tariffs under some other rule? And so we're back in the same exact spot that we are. So I think we should plan for tariffs to continue, but you're going to have to keep an eye on it from a regulatory perspective because the devil's in the details, right? And those details are going to change
Right.
over the next 6 months.
Can I
Um,
interrupt real quick with a
of
quick
course,
question?
yeah.
So when I talked with Lori this fall, she was talking about making sure people are kind of tracking expenses related to tariffs, showing them on bills in case there is some sort of a reversal. Does that ring a bell? And do you want to like maybe talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
protective?
so if there is a reversal, if they determine the IEEPA tariffs are unlawful, and it's not just a prospective ruling that they've just determined that they're always unlawful, there could be a refund opportunity. Um, I think that's going to be a mess. But at the same time, there is that ability to, and it's only the IEEPA, right? It's not the Section 301 tariffs that have been around since 2018. It's
Right.
not the Section 232 tariffs that are on like steel and aluminum. It's only those that are the reciprocal tariffs under IEEPA that are at issue here. But if your membership has been paying those, which I presume there have been, I would continue to track those sort of things. There's also, from a tax law perspective, how you treat the tariffs can have a significant impact, right? And so if I'm buying a new piece of equipment, it's got a 50% tariff on it, that $1 million piece of equipment, now I'm capitalizing 1.5. Well, praise God for bonus depreciation. Otherwise, I'd be capitalizing that and depreciating it over a 7-year period, right? Same thing with raw materials. That has to get capitalized into the inventory costs. But you know what? My question, what happens if I've got an R&D supply? What happens if I buy a new mold and then I bring that mold in-house and I experiment with it and say the mold's a $500,000 and I've got a 50% tariff on it. And I'm using 50 just so I can do the math in my head. So 750 is your total cost. And is that 750,000 eligible for the R&D credit instead of the 500,000? Am I getting a tax credit on the back end of some of these costs? These are some of the questions that we're having internally that I'm hopeful we get some guidance on.
Right.
And otherwise, then it's just a risk profile discussion with our clients.
Well, and we've talked about doing, once some of these clarifications start coming through, having you on for a webinar to like kind of talk a little bit more in depth about some of these issues as well.
Yeah, happy
Um,
to.
so from an operations standpoint, where can molders and printers start making like some really big differences, as they're heading into the new year?
So, I get this question a lot, and I think there seems to be a common theme, and that's focus on those things that you can control. Right? I mean, we can't control the tariffs, we can't control the tax policy, we can't control when IRS is going to issue new rules. What we control is the processes by which we run our operations, right? Things that I think that companies should be considering is how are you using data, right? What's your roadmap look like from a technology perspective? Because as we continue to evolve as a manufacturing community, technology is going to continue to change it, right? It's going to continue to be disruptive. And so where I start people having maybe you're already along the way and you're doing advanced robotics and you've got lights out manufacturing and you're capturing everything and your margins real time and everything. That's awesome. That's best in class. But a lot of our Molder clients are having an understanding of their operations, but maybe it's not real time. And really, where I think there's a lot of benefit, especially in times when times are a little bit slower, is really kind of understanding what's your data look like? What's your data structure look like? Because, at every single one of the conferences we go to, artificial intelligence is a topic, right? AI is everywhere. It's not just in our manufacturing conferences that we go to, it's in, our kids' apps and
Right.
and and stuff like that. And so, um, how do you start with AI? It's data, your data structure, because what is it pulling from? Yeah, what does your data look like? How is it organized? One of my partners, Kate, she's got a great slide that shows at the very top of the page, it's got a whole lot of Legos, different colors, different shapes. It's just one big pile. And oftentimes that's our data set. And, CPA firms are no different. Somebody asks me a question, I go start doing a word search in my email, and then I look on my desktop, and then so where is the data? Where is it housed? Where
Right.
where inquiries do I have to be able to pull at that information? Is it real time? So from an operations perspective, what's your production monitoring look like? What's your process monitoring look like? Is it tied back to your ERP system so you can understand, your profitability, your margins by part, by customer family, um, you know, by SKU, whatever the case is, however you want, it should be self-service so that your decision makers can splice and dice the data, whether that's a Power BI tool or whether that's innate within your ERP system. But where does your data live? What does the structure look like? And if you start to think about automating some of those tasks, what's your cyber look like, right? Because you're going to have to open some things up. And what's your security look like? Because as we
Was
start connecting
actually
all
a
these devices,
Yeah,
but
super interesting point at a conference that we were both at earlier this fall. Someone said, be really careful about which AI tool you're using and how open it is because you don't want to put any confidential customer data in to start analyzing because suddenly that information is out there to be accessed elsewhere in the wide world of the internet. And it was just one of those things that kind of like stopped me in my tracks because security is, technology is not always my friend anyway. But when we start thinking about security and how we're using these tools and the ability of that data to suddenly wing outside your organization because you fed it into one of these AI tools, yeah, that was something I had not really considered.
Yeah, there, I mean, I just attended a talk on artificial intelligence and kind of raised my hands. We're a CPA firm, and he says, "Oh my gosh." He started with, "Oh my gosh," that from a cybersecurity perspective, you don't want taxpayer data going out there. We've got social security numbers, we've got income amounts, we've got a whole slew of things. And so, like ChatGPT is not even, you won't find that on a single Whiffly machine.
Yeah.
Um, if I wanted to use it, I'd have to go around the firewall on my phone, which I'm not going to do. We have
I was gonna say, I wouldn't recommend that, Mike. That'd be bad.
we have Copilot, and
Yeah.
so we have internal Copilot and external Copilot. You can toggle it on or off, but as you can imagine, the security features around that,
Mhm.
where we're seeing it really applicable is automating some back office and front office tasks. So taking a design that might be in CRM or in another other system, automatically building a new bomb for a new project, right? As it makes its way through the progress. Or on the back office, automating accounts payable, right? In some way, shape, or form. And so there's an approval process. And it's a crawl,
Scheduling
walk,
too.
right? Oh
Have you
yeah.
seen scheduling
Well,
applications?
actually, there's been some really cool things from a scheduling perspective. And so for instance, let's say I've got I'm supposed to be running a 48-second cycle time on something, and it's running at 55 seconds, and my tooling changeover is supposed to be at 2 p.m. Um, there are some systems out there will automatically alert and notify the scheduler that, hey, that tooling changeover is not going to be at 2 p.m. It's going to be at 2:45 p.m. Or to make that recommendation. You can actually automate the agent to make that change itself, or you can get an operator in the middle or a scheduler in the middle or a supervisor in the middle to approve making that change. And so there's been a lot of cool things there from a scheduling perspective um, that I think are um, well, it really just allows for dynamic scheduling.
Right.
Yeah.
I just
Um,
think going into the new year, the more that we can automate, the better off we're going to be in terms of efficiencies. Everyone's still struggling to find the right people in their own facilities. I think that's going to be important. And from a quality standpoint, a lot of that we can automate out a bunch of the errors if we have the right systems in place.
and a lot of that stuff, not the licensing fees, but a lot of the actual activities of all of your employees qualifies for the R&D credit for those things. And so that's mitigating some of the costs associated with it.
Okay. Does anybody on the call have questions for Mike? All right, nice and easy, you guys. So, Wipfli is an IMDA partner. They're a terrific supporter of our organization. Anybody can jump on a call with Mike, with Lori Harbour, Lisa Lehman. There's a slew of wonderful Wipfli employees who are able to help answer questions, help you guys find some solutions. Reach out to me or to Mike directly on the IMDA website. In the directory, you can find links to Wipfli and think even a direct email to Mike is on that site. So, as we're looking ahead to 2026, a few other things to chat with you guys about. First, we have our dates for the 2026 Plastic Product Decorating Summit. We are going to Texas. We're going to be in the Houston area in Sugar Land, September 1 through 3rd. It's actually the way the calendar falls, it's right before Labor Day. It's the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Get you guys out by about noon on Thursday so you can commence your Labor Day activities, right? Whatever those might be to wrap up your summers. We're super excited about the location. It's right in a really kind of a entertainment hub. So there's lots of great restaurants to meet with suppliers or other partners. We're of course going to kick off with an opening baseball game again. It's kind of become our thing. It's a great networking night. So yeah, September 1 through 3rd in Sugar Land, Texas. That's Houston area. Um, Couple of other things just so you guys know what's going on with IMDA. Again, kind of planning ahead for 2026. We'll be exhibiting at MD&M West. We co-work that booth with Plastics Decorating Magazine. So for that particular event, there is not an opportunity for IMDA members to join us in the booth, but there are three other opportunities next year. PT Expo in March, Pack Expo International in October, and Label Expo Americas in September. All three of those are in Chicago, so I get lots of Chicago time next year. But the great thing about those events, about a month or so prior, I will send out a link. You guys can sign up to be in the booth for a couple of hours, help me answer questions, spend some time talking with the people who come to visit. And at the end of the show, you get all of the contact information for every visitor to the booth. It's a great sales tool for you guys, kind of help you prospect a little bit. Also super helpful to me because I can answer about 80% of the questions about IML and IMD, but when we start getting into the nitty-gritty, I need you guys. So those three events will be opening up for the booth. A couple of other things. We are starting a technical committee in 2026. We have a set of standards, technical standards, that are on the IMDA website for members only that talk about film tolerances and molding problems that we might run into and that sort of thing. And these are a terrific resource, but they have not been updated since like 2013, 2014, something like that. Probably not a lot has changed. However, I want to make sure that we have the most accurate information out there. So we're going to be asking for volunteers. Brian Roski, I'm looking at you. You're going to volunteer. It's going to be terrific. Brian's on our board of directors with MCC Global IML, so he automatically gets volunteered for all sorts of fun things. But we are pulling in a few other people so we can just run through in 2026, do a monthly call, review those technical standards, and make sure those are updated. So if anyone listening is interested in possibly getting involved with that, shoot me an email or reach out via phone, and I'm happy to add you to our list. We will kick that off in January. Just trying to think if there's anything else super exciting happening. Okay, last thing, and then I'll let you guys go for the day. IMDA, we revamped our website at the end of last year. And one of the things that we did is we created a new way for you guys to review information about your member benefits. It does require you guys to log in. I think everybody who's currently on the call already has a login, so good job. But if you are listening in after the call is over, make sure you go to imdassociation.com, click members only up in the top corner, and it will take you to the InMold Meetups site where you can register RSVP for all of our future meetups so you guys don't miss one of these fun little events. But also, you can create a login. And once I approve that login, you have access to further information about benefits like the Granger program, the FedEx discount program. We added two new programs with Staples and CDW. If you guys are not the right people, you're not doing the purchasing in your organization, which most of you aren't, get me to the right person, have them get in contact. I can walk them through all of these programs. We do have some members who are saving significant amounts of money every year because they're already ordering through these programs, and these are just discounts that apply once you log in, once I've got you all signed up. But that's where that information is going to be. The technical standards are out there. We are adding more video from our conference. That will be up in that area as well. Access to surveys, downloads to our white paper. So all of that is in a members only section. You do have to have approval from me to access, but you can create your own login. Just another easier way for us to communicate with you guys so you can find everything you need. All right. So that's really all I had for today. We will come back together January 13th will be our next call. I will be scheduling all of the events for 2026, so we will get that out to you as well so you can get them all on your calendar. Mike, thank you so much for being here. Mike's actually getting ready to head to the airport in about 3 minutes. So he squeezed us in today. I greatly appreciate your time. And if you guys need anything, you know how to find me. Thank you all so much and happy holidays.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye,
Anita.
everybody.